Why do some illnesses get treatment while others get judgment?
I would have to say because some illnesses are visible and some illnesses, like things related to mental health, are not.
I got that dish. Got that. I got that dish. Dish. Got that dish. I got that dish. That dish.
Hey y'all, it's Onika.
And JR?
And you are dishing with Dainty Dish. How you doing today, JR?
I am doing fantastic. I'm at home. It's a holiday. I'm doing well. Swell.
Okay.
How about you?
I'm doing okay. I had a slip and fall the other day. I slipped and I fell and I hurt my ankle and my back and my side. It was not cool. I love you, Canada, but I really wish the snow would go far, far away.
Did you think I actually cared how you were doing?
I thought you might, seeing as you ask me every single week.
Yeah, it's just one of those formalities. I didn't really care that you slipped. You got here, so you're fine now.
I got here. I'm still wearing a little bit of a tensor bandage, but my ankle's much better. Thank you for asking and also not caring.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
But it is Family Day today that we're taping this episode, so we thought, why not have some family on? Why not?
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. So we have invited our little cousin Daniela and her mom Leah, our other cousin, to be on the podcast. Guys, whoever wants to go first, say hello. Hello.
Hello.
That was like very, very shy.
That's very shy. We're not a shy show. We want you to open up to us.
We will.
We will.
They will. It's like in due time. In due time.
In due time.
Give us a moment.
So how you guys doing?
Good.
You doing good?
Yeah.
You doing well?
Yes.
So what's going on with you? Okay, so Daniela is a high school student. You're in grade 12 now?
Yes.
Okay. And you are about to embark on the greatest time of your life, but you're here to reflect on your current environment with us today.
Yes.
All right. Does that work?
That works.
Okay.
That works.
Okay, that's a little back end. And then because, we can't just talk to minors without their parents around.
We invited Leah on the show.
We invited Leah.
That's the absolute only reason, apparently.
But Leah and I share a lot of opinions, so I'm down with Leah being here. Anika, are you okay?
Yes, I'm down with Leah being here, and I think Danielle and I share some similar opinions about things.
Definitely.
Yeah, we've had that conversation.
Yeah.
We're actually continuing our conversation we had during our Boxing Day family event, if you recall, JR.
Yeah, that time I said, we don't need counselors and therapists in school. Mm-hmm. Forget that. Like, kids need their parents, and then that's it. Like,
and
forget
Daniela
it.
was really ready to throw you off the chair.
Ready to throw me off the chair, and I appreciate that. So, I mean, we ended up running into an article that posed
the question as to why are we finishing each other's sentences today? What's that about?
I'm trying to set you up.
Oh, you're setting me up? Okay, anyway. So the question that was posed was, is it good parenting to give your children a mental health day? Yes. So is it good parenting? What do you think, Daniela?
Yes, definitely.
And why do you think that?
Well, sometimes school can get extremely stressful with all the tests, assignments, just everyday homework. And sometimes you just need that one day to give yourself time to relax and catch up and not just stress about everything you have to do. Mm-hmm. It can cause a lot of anxiety to think about all the things you have to get done, and just not in sense of schoolwork, but graduating itself. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine all the stress all of us grade 12s go through just to get to where we need to be in the future.
Okay.
So what's changed in the past 25 years that it's more stressful for you now than it was for me?
For us.
I'm sure it's exactly the same. You just maybe didn't realize how much stress you were going through, or just didn't realize that it wasn't normal to be going through that much stress.
But maybe stress is normal.
And it might have increased. Of course it's normal, but it shouldn't be to the point where you are dreading to go to school, not feeling sick from it.
Okay.
Anxiety.
So developing anxieties where you don't even want to go to school. You're terrified to go.
So, okay, you use the word anxiety, and I mean, sometimes I think that word's thrown around a lot, especially by people that are your age and younger. just throwing the word around anxiety, saying, I'm feeling anxious and such, but do you really feel anxiety? Or like, do you have friends or like people that you acquaintances that actually truly like, that you could say, okay, no, that's anxiety?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah. There's a difference between anxiety and just feeling nervous. You have to make that distinction. Nervous is like that butterfly feeling, and anxiety is where like you would fake being sick. You would do anything just so that you wouldn't have to do whatever it is you're feeling anxious about. To the point where like you get depressed, I guess you could say.
And this happens for teenagers.
Yes.
And I don't know. I have a hard time believing that there's that many. It's that big of a problem.
I think it gets dismissed as something normal, something that a phase that you have to go through when you're a teenager, when it's not normal. It's not something someone should have to just deal with.
Leah, what do you think? Would you, if Daniela came to you and said, listen, Mom, I'm stressed out right now. There's a lot going on at school. I've got a lot of assignments. There's so much going on. I'm having problems with my friends, whatever the case may be. And she says to you, you know what, Mom, I think I need a mental health day. What would your response be to her?
Yes, because I see the stress that they go through. When we went to school, we had assignments and stuff, but it wasn't on the same level. They're expected to produce these things that are phenomenal. And because social media is so available to them, they're expected to use it to produce things that are not like what we had to produce. When we went to school, you cut, you paste, you put things together on a board and you presented it, and that was sufficient. These guys are expected to research things, document, annotate. I mean, we have to do that too, but not to the extent that they have to do it. And it's not only one teacher that wants you to do it. You have several teachers, and then sometimes teachers will give you to do the same thing on the same day as another teacher. So you may have 3 things due at the same time. How can you possibly prepare your mind mentally to do 3 things and organize them and get your mind straight to separate things all at one time? It's hard. As an adult, if I get too many things on my plate, I'm like, I'm not doing this. And we don't do it. But they are expected to do it because they have to present, they have to bring it to school, or you fail. You don't get the grade, you don't get the mark, you get minus, you get presenteds taken off, you get this, that. And then there's competition between the other students. Everybody wants to outdo everybody. Whereas when we were in school, it wasn't about that. Everyone presented. People were more willing to help each other. But in their grades, I find everyone's competing because everyone wants to get the spot at school. Everyone wants to be this a grade, be above you. And then when you do better than someone else, people are picking on you for that. We didn't have that. I find their social media stuff is a lot more harassment about if you do good, you still get picked on. If you don't do good, you still get picked on.
So there's different pressures.
There's different pressures than I feel than what we had. When I was in school, it wasn't so much like that. I mean, social media wasn't a thing where you had to look good, you had to do this. I mean, you just did what you wanted to do, and if someone didn't like it, I won't say what I want to say, but you dealt with it another way. These guys can't do that. It's not the same option.
Their whole life is on blast.
I don't know. I look at another perspective because yes, you have the negatives, but you also have a lot of positives. Where outside of reading an encyclopedia, which was dated, I wasn't able to gather information in real time or anything that was accurate or up to date. Whereas today, that information is available very quickly. Like you can research something that would take you maybe 2 weeks to research in the past. You could legitimately do that in about 4 hours now.
But the thing now is that there's too much information.
Okay.
That's the part.
So filtering
that's
through
right.
all
The filtering through of information is so overwhelming. The teacher will say, okay, you need to look at this, but they're not so specific enough to tell you what exactly. So you're looking at such a wide range of information, and then you have to figure out how do you filter that out. And how do you get to what it is that you need to get to? Because there's so much information. So that's the minus. I think is that it's good to have information, but you have to be able to know how to apply that information. And if you don't know how to filter and apply it to what your teacher is expecting of you, you get teachers that give you very little guidelines. And then when you bring it to them, you've done all this work, and you bring it to them, they look at you and say, "That's not what I told you. That's not
what I wanted.
That's not what I wanted." And you've spent all this time. So then you develop that anxiety and that stress over that because you spent a week going through all this information, and then you can bring it to the teacher and they tell you, "That's not what I told you," or "That's not what you wanted." But yet you've asked them, What do you want? And they tell you, and then they come back and tell you something else. So then that builds up that anxiety, because now you got to refocus and start all over again. And then you got to find the other information that you thought you had, but it wasn't the information that you thought you needed. Isn't
that just teaching about what happens in life? Like, I mean, I've worked in offices and had a boss and he's like, I need a report that says this, and I give him that, and then he looks at it, he's like, this isn't what I need, and it's like, well, you're not going to sit there and say that's not what you said. You're going to go back and just do another one and get it done and just keep it moving.
That's true, but we don't get that chance. You don't get the chance to fix it. You give it to them, and that's it. That's your mark.
Yeah, that's fine. It should be that way.
That's it. There's no chance to redo it or get what they wanted. And that affects your grade forever.
I don't know. Like, I look at
There's
it
no changing it.
Like, right now, your opinion matters because we're talking and your opinion matters, Daniela. But in school, your opinion doesn't matter. In class, your opinion doesn't matter. So what's the big deal? If nothing you say actually matters, then what are we fighting for?
Exactly that, for it to matter.
But it shouldn't matter at your age. Nothing you do should matter.
Yes, it does. We're in the future.
Everything she does at this age matters.
Because who's after you? We are.
That's true.
So if you
they're the next generation.
Give us the respect, or at least hear us.
Put some respect on her name.
At least hear what we have to say. How do you expect us to get any better?
But the thing is, no one. Like, when I was your age, nobody cared what I had to say. And I had to go through the process of understanding that nobody cares what I have to say until I can build enough credentials and prove myself to the point where now today, in certain realms and in certain areas, when I say something, it means something.
So you wouldn't give the younger generation that chance you never had?
No, you got to earn it. Because as you, like, the things that you know now and the stresses I feel like you think that you have now, in 10 years, you're going to look back and be like, those weren't real stresses.
I don't think that's fair. I
disagree.
I
disagree because the reason I would disagree with that is that when you're born, is not everyone born the same and equal when you're first born? Okay, so as you go through life, you should be given that same blank slate as everybody else to start off equal and then move your way up and prove yourself to where you need to be. If you can't do that and you're automatically, it's a judgment. If you judge that you're not equal, then what are you saying that?
Oh no, but I'm saying everyone her age is equal. None of them matter. That's what I'm saying.
But you can't say that because we're training our young people to be the voice of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to treat them that nothing that they do right now matters, then how are they supposed to present themselves when they leave school?
Have self-confidence.
To have self-confidence, esteem, a right of not entitlement, but a place where they feel they have a place in this world to promote themselves, to grow, to be better, to be a better. Everyone wants to strive to be a better human than you are right now. Mm-hmm. Everything you do is striving to better yourself individually, emotionally, physically, spiritually. If you're not in school to try, if teachers are not in school to try and help promote that, what are they there for? They're teaching our young people to be a better person and to be better for our world, to grow, to promote industry, health, wellness, everything. Mm-hmm. So if you can't treat people fairly that way, then what are you doing? It's not. It needs to be. I mean, not everybody's going to be like that. Like you said, the world is tough, and you have to have a strongness to yourself. You have to have development, and the world isn't fair. But you shouldn't be in school to be taught. You're there to learn. The teachers are there to learn, to teach you how to grow, how to give you the tools to survive when you leave. Not all the tools, because you have to learn some of that yourself. You have to be a person, an individual.
I feel like you got to get kicked down a few times before you can be a
but kicking
person.
Down is good. But if you're depending on your personality and who you are, if you can't handle that, you should have teachers that can say.
Yes, they need to be kicked down, but you have to leave them enough strength to get back up.
That's right.
If you kick them down so much that they can't even pick themselves back up, how's anything going to happen?
And also, if you're kicking them down and you're the teacher at this point, how are they supposed to come to you when they are having mental health struggles?
That's right.
Who are they supposed to go to if not the very person that's,
help to build them?
Yeah, that's supposed to be helping to build them, and it's not helping to build them. Instead, it's tearing them down in their own way.
And if you look at the issues right now, bullying is such a big thing. So if you have a teacher that's belittling you and putting you down in front of other students, that's promoting the culture that it's okay to put someone down because you think that if you do that, they'll strive back up. I mean, there's some people that be like that. Like you and I, Julian. If someone gave us a negative, we tell them where they can go fly their negative.
Yeah.
But there are young people that negative to them is a kick in the heart. Like that, it's their self-esteem cannot take that. So they need a place where they can feel, if not in school, that you don't have a teacher or someone that you can feel that, or a friend or someone where you can feel that you have that place where you can maybe try and pull yourself back up. Then where do you go? What do you do? If you can't say, I need this time in school, because how much time of your life is spent in school?
Oh my goodness, all of it.
All of it. Almost all of it. It feels like till you're 22.
And think about it, even when you leave school and you go into the working world, you still have to update yourself. You have to do courses. You have to do... So you're constantly in an environment where you need that. You need someone that...
encouragement.
You need encouragement. Yeah, you need someone who can help back you up a bit. If it be negative or even like you say, give you a kick and say, okay, you can do this. Get yourself together. You can do it. But in a positive way, not in a make you feel like you're not competent, you can't do something, that others are better than you and that you'll never be as good as someone else. And there are teachers that do that, and that's not the right approach.
Okay. So I know I hate being all negative and stuff. So what are some positive things that are happening?
Well, at my school, we have so many programs that are dedicated to bullying, race relations, just feeling who you are, feeling out who you want to be, feeling your culture, I guess you could say. There's so many things now that schools are developing that are great for people. There's so much positivity right now, at least in my school I know of.
And you're in school in the Durham region?
Yes.
You don't have to say the school name.
Yeah.
Leave it.
What are they doing? Are they doing anything related to mental health?
Yes, there actually is a mental health program at our school. I don't know exactly who it is that started it. I think it was a group of kids from my school. I don't know what it's called.
But it's run by Carea. It's called Carea. I think it's Carea. It's run by Carea.
Yes.
They're a health organization within Durham and like the Durham area. And
We'll put the link in the description of the show.
It's called Carea.
So this group, they advocate for all of us. They are the ones that are trying to get more mental health counselors into our school. They're trying to have groups for kids who are suffering from mental health where they can come together and talk about it. People who understand exactly what they're going through. I think that's amazing because that's not something we had before. This is new. This was only just this year. I didn't even know it existed until a few months ago.
Carea, yes. CAR.
One of the things that's happening at my school.
Neat. And I know, like, one thing you were talking about, we talked about it off air, was that there's counselors to help. So I know when I was in school, there were no counselors. So I think that's definitely been an improvement in the last, 15 years, I guess? That would be, yeah. So
yes, there's a counselor that comes to our school. I believe it's every Thursday, and you can schedule appointments with her if you need one.
Now, when we were talking, you said that there's not enough time slots.
Yes. So it's a school day, obviously, when she comes. So you have maybe the lunch hour, which is literally an hour, to get some time with her. And then after school or before school. That's not enough time. There's it's like 1,000 kids in my school. So if you split that in half, she'd probably see 3 students every other Thursday, every Thursday, if she's there.
Got it.
I don't think that's enough time. Because who knows how long those appointments are going to be. Kids might not even get to see her if they really need it. And what happens if it's an emergency? If they need someone right then, right there, right now.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Because this is something Onika and I have talked about, but we obviously aren't teenagers, so we can't answer the question. When it comes to, let's say you or one of your friends has a problem, and they're feeling, let's say suicidal. What are the steps that you would take in that scenario? What do you do? As a 17-year-old, what do you think to do?
I would probably ask their parents if they're aware.
Okay.
Talk to them first before I do anything drastic. I don't want to step in somewhere where I'm not supposed to. I would talk to them, talk to their parents, and see if they know if they're already doing something that I don't know about to try and help them. And then if say something happens at school, like they try to hurt themselves.
Yeah.
If there was someone there that was prepared, trained for this, I would go to them, find them, and get them the help that they need.
So do you feel that your teachers or your, I guess your principal, who else is in the school?
Guidance counselors.
Are they prepared, do you
No,
think?
absolutely not.
No, they're not prepared.
They don't have the training. I know. I've seen it happen. There's been instances out of school, I'm not going to say who, obviously, that this has happened. They didn't know what to do. I know a lot of teachers. I had a friend who had a mental breakdown during her class, and the teacher just let her sit there in the class, didn't know what to do, left her, thought she was faking it. When it's listed on, because we have like medical, it said you get a notification on your name that says, this person has
A peanut
anxiety,
allergy or whatever. Or,
depression,
yeah.
some kind of mental illness or disease or anything. And she knew. She was aware of it. It wasn't the first time, but she just thought it was because, there was something happening. There was like a test or something, and she thought she was faking it because she didn't want to do it.
And that, I think, would be a big problem with young people. Just going back to the taking the mental health day thing we were talking about earlier, I think people are worried that, when a kid is sick, has a flu or a broken arm or, an upset stomach or whatever the case may be, it's a physical ailment. But when you're dealing with something mental, it's very easy to say stuff like, are they in crisis?
Are you just feeling sad?
Are you feeling sad? Are you faking it? Like, it's so easy for a teacher to just be, jaded enough to kind of say something like that.
Yeah, because there's those few kids that were faking it.
Yes.
And it skewed their vision. That's all they see. And then there's the ones that are actually experiencing it that suffer the consequences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think teachers, there are some teachers that legitimately should not be teaching anymore because they are jaded.
Yeah.
Bold statements.
Yeah.
That's every profession, though.
They're jaded, and it's not even towards mental health. There's some teachers that if let's say a female student in, say, a physical class, a combat class, let's say that, and somebody hurts themselves. And they look at the student and then tell them, did you really hurt yourself? Just suck it up.
Okay.
That kind of stuff also, in my opinion, goes to...
I think you need to give a little more context to that.
But that's equal opportunity and equality, and that's the world we live in. Suck it up.
No.
But
this person that she's talking about was me.
Yeah, suck it up.
So let me tell you exactly what happened.
Let's give the context, Daniela.
I was in a combative class.
Yeah.
And I broke my wrist.
Oh, ooh, okay.
And my teacher did not believe me because I was not crying. So he assumed that I was faking it to get out of the exercises that we were doing.
Oh no, you're real tough.
I didn't cry. I was in shock.
Yeah, you were.
I could not believe that I had broken my wrist. I knew something was wrong. It was obvious there was something wrong. My wrist was bright red. That's not faking. Like, he didn't even take the second to even look at me. He didn't look. He didn't check my wrist to see if there was an actual injury. He didn't even know that I was seriously hurt until I didn't show up the next day.
I mean,
how often do you find your teachers, whether it's a physical ailment or a mental ailment, in the last, you've been in high school 4 years now, right? So in the last 4 years, how often would you say, knowing what's going on with your friends and, within the school, has something like this happened where, you guys have been accused of faking something one way or the other? Is it a frequent thing, or is this
at least once in every grade that I've been in? It happened at least once or twice that they did not believe me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Maybe it's just because they've been teaching for so long and they've seen so much people that have faked illnesses or weren't telling exactly the truth that they don't believe it anymore. But there's been at least once in every year of my high school life that someone has told me I was faking it or what I said wasn't true. It didn't happen. You're just lying to get out of this, to get out of that.
And that's stressful.
Truly happened.
That can be very, very stressful.
I had a teacher who actually said this to my friend, because I asked her to tell her why I wasn't there. And she said, no, your friend's lying to you. Straight up, right to a student. Your friend is lying to you. She's lying to you.
That's back to the original question that I asked today. Why do some illnesses get treatment while others get judgment? Isn't that full circle?
That
It
is
is.
full circle.
It's very judgmental. And I think because mental illness is not something people can see right in front of them, unless you've been exposed to it, you don't see it as a real ailment. You just think it's all in your head. Okay, you had a bad day, so like you said, suck it up.
Suck it up, yeah.
For them, they have to
move on with your
witness
life.
it.
But if you are suffering and people around you are treating you that way, it doesn't make you want to come forward and say, this is who I am. I am legitimately struggling with depression, anxieties, because everyone around you treats you like it's no big deal. Suck it up, move on with your life, get it together. Which, for some people who have a strong self can deal with that and not affect you. But if you're someone whose self is not strong, is not developed, and that's what you're struggling with, telling those people those things are hurtful. That it brings them down. It tells them that, well, then how can I talk to you? Who do I talk to now? Because you're telling me this, and you're my teacher or you're my friend. You know what I mean? Who do I speak to?
It can even be family. I know Nika and I have had situations where I've said to her face, I'm like, why don't you toughen up?
Toughen up.
Right.
And it's like
cupcake.
Like cupcake, and it's like, let's have a real. This is not going to work.
That's right. And so you have to be careful with your term, and not that we have to tiptoe around people, but you have to be. I think we need a little more sensitivity training for
teachers,
guidance counselors. And it's not to be a softie and say give everyone a pass. Because you said this, you give a pass, but you have to investigate it to find out whether or not it is a legitimate claim of someone. If you see the person in your class,
benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Just like you give, if someone else in your family or friend, you give someone a benefit of the doubt to say, hey, maybe they're having a bad day or they're having an off day. And, you give them that and you let it slide and say, okay, so why shouldn't students be given that? If you know the student in your class and you know who they are and you see them and you can and they give you that, you can say, okay, well, maybe this person is having
it's
this
out of
day.
their character kind of thing.
It's out of their character. Let me give them a date. Let me speak to them before just judgmenting them and saying, no, this is not it. You don't have depression. You're not this. You're just trying to scapegoat or, get away with something and put one on. An example would be when a teacher tells another student that, oh, she's just trying to get out of the presentation. And think that she's more special than you. Why should I treat you differently than another student? Then when they ask,
it's a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword. And then as a parent, you try to legitimize and say, okay, she is having this thing. We're doing this, and then a teacher will tell you, well, I need a doctor's note. You need to prove to me. I should not have to prove to you anything. If I say that this is what's going on, this is what's going on. As a parent, I'm not coming. You think I want to put my child in a position to say she's suffering from mental illness, anxieties. No, it's not something a parent wants for their child. So you shouldn't have to be proving that to somebody. They should be able to say, okay, she had this day. You said yes, she's had this, and we move on.
Do you think there's a stigma around? We know there's a stigma around mental health. That's just that's a given. But in the realm of high school, what is that stigma? Have you ever witnessed it? Have you ever seen it in your friends? What does that look like? What does that feel like when you're in high school?
Well, what I've seen is people who do suffer it, they are scared to say anything because teachers have this idea of what it looks like, what it should seem like. You shouldn't be able to walk around school and come to that. They don't expect you to be able to function. And it's true. Sometimes you can't. But most of the time, it's easy to just push down, put it aside. But you're still feeling it. You can still go on with your day. And then you get home and let it go. So I've seen instances where I guess you could say they waited too long to tell their teacher that this is what I've been experiencing for the past months. And they're like, really now? Why didn't you say something in the first place? Why didn't you say it at the beginning? Because obviously they must have been terrified. Because I've seen other kids try to tell teachers this kind of thing, and they don't believe them. They think, well, Where's your note? Where's your proven doctor certified illness? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's not something that you can easily diagnose.
Trust me, I know.
Like,
trust me, honey, I know.
you can't look at a person and be like, yep, you have anxiety, you have depression.
You have ADHD.
There's no, like, certain physical symptoms you can see. It's just something you have to...
You kind of have to go on trust, and you have to trust that the person is really genuinely feeling the way that they say they're feeling.
Yes.
And
exactly.
I think that there could be a barrier sometimes between teachers and students, but even sometimes students and students. Because if you don't have a good core group of friends that you feel that you can go to and talk to about this stuff, then, kind of what are you left with, really?
Yeah. There's no one else for you other than your parents, which isn't the same. Because you're at school with your friends. If you experience something, you need someone to talk to when you're there. Because you can't always get to your parents. So at work, or you can't use your phone, something like that. So you need someone there right then that you could talk to.
Yeah, I think too with teachers too. When you tell a teacher that you're having an issue, they should be able to present you with solutions to help you get past. Like, say if you have a presentation, if you have a fear of presenting that provides you the anxiety, they should be able to think about other options for you. Present with just you and the teacher, small groups and stuff like that. There are teachers that don't look at that options, where they just put that stress on you that you have to do it this way and that's the only way. Which there should be, because even in work, if you want to do a presentation, sometimes you can say to your boss, okay, can we do this? Can we let me present this to you first and see how it goes, see how you feel about it. And you work it out and you get around that. But teachers aren't always willing to help you when they don't feel a disability or an ailment is real in their mind. They just think you should be able to do this. That's it. Get over it.
But a teacher's also teaching like 100 kids a semester, right? Like,
but the way they teach in classes now, they do things individually. Like when you're in a class now, you have gifted students, you have French students, and they all gear to groups now. So they should be able to do the same thing when you as a student in their class.
They put everybody in the same class?
Yes.
Oh.
And they treat them differently. Daniela will tell you.
When you have, say, gifted students in your class, the expectations are raised so much higher. And they apply to everybody. And not everyone is gifted. Some people can't reach that. That's not who they are.
I don't even like the word gifted.
I don't either. It gives people, I think it gives them too much power. Too much, supposed intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's some of the change that needs to happen to give people an equal playing field. Yes, you're smarter, you have... so they want to give you harder work to do, which is fine. If you qualify for that, by all means, but it shouldn't be pointed out to make the other students feel that, okay, I have to now compete with you because you're in my class and you're gifted and I'm not. And that's how some of the teachers treat you that way. So that in itself also creates anxiety for kids.
Isn't the onus on the parents, though, to advocate in these situations?
They do not allow that. What are you going to advocate against? That's the rules of the school.
Yep.
You can't do anything about that. You can go to the board and you can try, but that's how they do it because they don't have the classrooms to separate kids that way. And they don't want to, and that's the other thing. Like you said, it's a two-sided coin because then if you separate those children, you're saying that they don't belong to be with the other kids because they're smart. The smart kids don't want to be treated like they're nerdy kids. Like they can't get along with other people and be social and be competent. So they put them in classes with the other kids to give them that social interaction that they need. So you can't advocate. How do you advocate against that? You can't.
And that's fine. I just think they need to find a way to make the coursework suited to everybody.
Yes, they need to be more inclusive.
I mean, I guess we tried separating because when I was a kid, it was separated. Like, right?
They're separated up until grade 10.
Okay, so we said
and then it combines 11 and 12.
Okay, so we said that didn't work, right? Then we tried combining them now, and we're saying, okay, that doesn't work. So I guess we got to find something else.
It works to an extent. So I'm just saying that they have to not just do one type of coursework. They need to combine it. So the ones that are gifted get the stuff that they are able to do. And the ones that are not get stuff that they can do. so that there's no overstress. The gifted get what they need, and the non-gifted get what they need.
How do you formulate a lesson plan at that point? Because
It's not difficult because there's still other non-gifted courses.
But you're either catering to the higher end on the bell curve, or you're catering to the lower end. Because if you cater in the middle, everyone's mad.
Honestly, high school has never sounded more stressful
I don't know.
to me in my life.
You convinced me that there's people who have stress. Like, I don't know. This
sounds
There's
stressful.
so
I'm not
much
even
going on
stressed.
in high school. So much.
This is why there's stress.
I guess you're in a transition phase right now. You're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's
11 and
unfortunately
12
we're
is the
picked.
time where you figure out what is your skills. What are you good at and what does not work for you?
I disagree, actually.
I think so.
I don't think you learn that till later.
It's 11 and 12 is basically the setup for college and university.
But
That's
I feel
what it
like- I
is.
feel
You
like-
don't know what you really want
I'm
necessarily.
not saying like what you
but-
want to do. I'm saying what you learn, what you are good at, and what you need could possibly develop.
Even so,
better.
I don't even think you really get an understanding of what you're good at, because the curriculum is so middle of the ground that you're not really allowing people
Well, that's
that are
why you
artistic.
have elective courses.
But even so, I think like, how do you, like, I don't know. Are you a creative type?
Absolutely not. I
Okay.
know it.
Okay. So I guess like the music classes or the art classes, as a creative person, like they didn't really provide anything for me when I was in high school. Like I felt like this isn't as I want to be more creative than this. This is restricting me too much.
You haven't been in high school now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Art and music
just,
classes now are
It's
so
so-
diverse. If you come into her hallway of her school, you will see that the art students actually make character pictures of themselves, and they're posted, and the art is phenomenal.
So I guess you were saying
Phenomenal.
the shift has happened where we've gone from being very academic to now being more creative and artsy.
They have
You
a
do
lot
everything.
of they do everything, and their music is not like our music. When I did music in school, it was just learning like little keys and this. They fully sing.
They
produce
learn ballads,
like
piano, trumpet.
It's major.
Everything. They put on musical concerts.
They put on concerts
every year.
programs. Like it's like mini
They have a
Broadway
summer
shows.
concert and a
Well,
winter
I mean, at the end of the day,
concert.
like the barrier to entry on all those pieces of technology are, they're nothing. Like we're on a podcast right now. 20 years ago, you would need a radio station to do
like,
this.
You remember when you were in school, you never got to touch the theatrical equipment or really use it.
Yeah.
They fully run it.
Yes.
they
That's
do
cool.
it all.
You can volunteer to do the stage work, all
Everything.
behind. We have talent shows. They do, I believe, every Wednesday. Their drama students will put on shows. There's intramural, I guess you could say, and interpretive performances at lunch that they do. There's so much for people who
Yeah,
are into the arts.
It's a lot
to
it's
do.
a lot more diverse than
Okay.
It's like
There's
it's like they
there's
could be-
also
do a thing
a club
themselves.
where you can learn how to do stage makeup. So
neat.
like costumes, like all like the cool stuff where you like make monster faces, that kind of stuff.
The
There's
taxes
so
at your
much.
house must be a lot.
don't make me come over there.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious.
You can help yourself, but yeah, no.
I couldn't.
But yeah, it's changed. It's high school from your high school to
Yeah,
my high school
I-
are really different
Honestly,
levels.
I remember
Different
high
levels.
school. I remember high school being stressful, but not nearly as stressful as what you have just described to me. So my question to you now is, I know you said you have this mental health course that is have you taken it?
Yes, it's so you do psychology, sociology, and anthropology all in one.
So tell me a little bit about what you learned. Do you learn the like mental health 101, the basics, or do you learn about specific conditions?
So we do basics, and then what we did was we had an assignment. So the assignment was to pick a mental disorder or illness and learn everything about it, and then present
one
it
did you
to your
pick?
class. I believe I did personality disorder.
I'm sorry, you did
Personality
bipolar
trait.
disorder, girl.
No, someone took it.
No.
We didn't. It was like, when
Someone
this is so
offended.
good.
Yeah, you
I'm
your
offended.
personality trait. Yeah.
I think it was
borderline personality
Yes.
disorder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what did you learn?
So I learned that I believe it was very hard to diagnose,
It is.
and that I don't remember exactly.
Don't let Nika intimidate you. She doesn't know
No,
anything.
I don't remember exactly. This was grade 10, so it's not that
Oh, so
recent.
you took the course in grade 10.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's an elective, and then you can continue in doing like families in Canada where they still go on, but it's not as in depth. I wished I had one that was just psychology, because that would have been better for me. But I found that during that course, you learned a lot about mental illness, because we did as many as we could. So each person, which was like a class of 20, did one disorder that they chose. And we all learned about it. We all presented it to the class. We all took notes down on it. And we learned about mental disorder, how they present themselves, how they get treated, everything, and how to deal with people who have them, how to, approach them, how to just...
Spot the signs.
Yes, exactly.
Sir, was that an elective?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not mandatory.
Do you think programming like that should be mandatory in high schools?
Yeah. At least like the basics of at least knowing what to do, how to approach people with it. Things that would be extremely beneficial for you in the future. Because you're going to run into people who have these kind of mental illnesses, and you need to know what to say, how to diagnose, how to just deal with them, how to not offend anybody, things that are important to be in any kind of place.
Interesting. Now, Mom was talking about earlier about social media. I know you're not a big social
No.
media person, and that probably is why you're such a happy, healthy young woman in my profound opinion. It's why you're a happy, healthy, wholesome young woman. How do you see social media affecting mental health, like just amongst your friends, like just amongst your population?
I find that it becomes everything to them. I see people who post every day. They share their whole lives on there. And I don't know if that's exactly something you should be doing. Because then people get to judge you. And you get all these comments and opinions about what you're doing, and people don't really know. They just see what you put. So they don't know what's really going on in your life. You just see what people want you to see. And then there's so much that's in social media. I don't even know where to start. But I find that in school, it's all people talk about. It's, look at what this girl was doing on her Snapchat. Look at what this girl posted on her Instagram. Look at this. Oh, she's so ugly. So many comments get thrown out at people. And I don't even know how you could deal with that. That's exactly why I don't like social media. I don't like how people can hide behind their words on there. Because you don't know who's saying this. For all you know, this could be your best friend on an anonymous account saying all these things about you that you don't even know. And it becomes everything to people. I don't know.
That's your take on social media?
I don't like it. Bottom line, I don't like
Bottom
social media.
line, you're not into it.
I think social media is good and bad. I think it's bad in the fact that for these young people, they put things out there that they don't realize how they're going to be judged on it. And then it carries with them for years from now. You may do something inappropriate, post a picture of yourself that's not appropriate, and thinking that's nothing, nothing wrong. You're thinking it's innocent, but it turns out to be not innocent when it comes 5 years down the road and someone finds that picture of you, that comment, that something, was innocent when you were 17 years old, and now you're 25, 26, and that stuff comes back to get you. And that's where I think it creates anxieties as you get later on in your life, and then people start to get anxious about themselves, who they are, what did I do, how does this person view me and see me, and it creates that negativity with the social media, with that kind of stuff, because you don't think about that. When you're this age, you're out having a good time, you may drink, you may do something, and then later on that comes back to haunt you. And I think that's where people need to not take those things and put that out on someone, because when you're that age, like me, I did stuff in my age that, okay, but we didn't treat it the same way. We didn't look at it as, oh my God, this, and people.
Well, at the time, it's only your friends that knew you that could call it on you.
That's right. And now these things are following you, whereas we didn't have social media that those stuff follows you where you go, and people can look it up and find it about you later on and then use it against you, and then thus create problems for you in who you are, your being, your soul, and make it difficult for you. That's the thing about social media now, is everything's out there forever. Once it's there, right? How do you can't take it back?
Yeah, because you don't know who's, you could delete it, but you don't know who's taking that photo now. You have no idea where it has gone. So if you post something that could be detrimental to your future, you don't know what could happen. There's kids in my generation who send many inappropriate things to each other, and you don't know where it goes. Someone could easily take that information and use it against you.
And then thus creating
I'd like to think that our generation is better than that, but they're not. I've seen it happen to so many people in our school, in my school. I wish we could be better than that, but we're not.
Nobody's above it.
That's just the truth.
Yeah.
They're not above it.
And I think that's what creates anxiety, because if you post something and then someone reacts in a way that you don't think that the reaction should be, and you go to school next day and you walk in the door and everyone's like, and they're looking at you and you're like wondering, what's going on? What did I, what happened? What's out there? And then, say a teacher or someone else comes across that, then it's full blown
viral. Yeah.
And then how do you deal with that? How do you continue on? And if you don't have support like counselors or somebody you can speak to or whatever, how do you function? And that's
there to help you?
And that's
do
what
it?
creates more, and that's the other anxiety in school. That's why I think kids should be allowed to have a day, because if something happens that got blown out of proportion, and you need to be away from school for a day, you should be allowed. And people shouldn't say, "Well, why?" You should be allowed to have that day. When we want to call in for sick days, we call in a sick day because we may not feel like this is a day we want to be somewhere or do something. And people can say what they want to say, but if you want to do that, you do it. They should be allowed the same opportunity, if within reason. I mean,
okay, yeah, within reason.
Within reason.
Yeah.
I mean, one day out of a month, okay, one day is fine, but not 10. I'm not saying, you should be able to go, I need this day, that day. But if something happens and you're overwhelmed and there's a day, you need a day, you should be able to take that day without judgment.
Yeah, and I think that having that open dialogue with parents, between kids and parents is key. Having parents explain to their children, what mental health is, and, trying to decipher the signs and the symptoms of what those children might be going through and why they need that mental health day, I think is key. So just continue to talk.
Yeah.
To your kids.
And I think it's an individual thing based on your child, your family, your own beliefs. It's not something that I feel should be forced on anybody. It should be based on your life and your child and your family, what's right for you and what works for you, not to be imposed on other people. It's totally an individual thing. If you as a parent, that's what you feel is right for your child, then you should be allowed to that. But as a parent, if you feel that's not right for your child, then you should be allowed to do that as well and not be judged for that as well, because we're trying to be not judgmental. We're trying to be more sensitive and inclusive to everybody across the board, not just for one section of the people.
Well put.
Very well put. I think on that note, we're going to end it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
JR, do you have anything else to say?
I got nothing else to say.
Did Daniela put you in your place?
Yeah. And Mom came home to drop the mic. I like that.
Well, with that said, that's been the Family Day dish of the day. JR, if you guys want to reach JR, myself, Daniela, or Cousin Leah as well, just to tell them how awesome they are and how great of a job they did today. JR, tell them how they can reach us.
Absolutely. You can reach us at Dysh, DYSH, at daintydish.com. You can also check out Onika and more of her opinions on onikadainty.com. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts,
Give us 5, each over 5.
Thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe. If you're listening to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, or any other platform, thank you so much. We truly appreciate you for listening. Shout outs to everyone who's listening to us. Texas, Florida, where else is there? California, Ontario, BC, New York, Jersey. Am I missing somewhere?
What about our overseas friends?
UK, Italy. Thank you so much for listening. We truly appreciate you. Yeah.
All right. Like I said, that has been the dish of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, you have yourselves a very, very, very happy